We're going to be working with characters and string objects. So let's talk about cin. We've talked about cin before in the previous C++ videos in the playlist link below the like button. That's just going to take some user input. Now, there are some issues with it though, and we're going to address that here. Don't worry about that. It can be problematic because it stops reading input at the first blank space. So we can't take like a sentence of input. We can't take multiple things input on one line. So the solution for this is going to be the getLine function. If we want to store a string, we can make a variable here, and then we can just say getLine, and then we are going to pass in our C input and then input line. This is going to take our entire line of input as a string and store it inside of here, string input line. And then we could see out and then print the input line pretty simply. Now that's for strings. We've moved on to step 3, which is cin.get. We're getting a single character, not a line. Programs asking users to press any key to continue need the cin.get function. Cin.get essentially pauses the program, and since the get is built into the cin, we say that it's a member function of our cin. And if the program needs to store the character that's being read, then the cin.get function can be used the following ways. So we have char yes or no, and then this is just a variable, and then we have a cin.get where we can pass in our yes or no. We can also store an integer if we want to because it's a single. Now, when the cin.get function is used to pause a program until a key is pressed and it doesn't need to store a character at all, we just use cin.get. We don't set it to anything like we do here. We could also set this equal to a char, which is cool. We also don't need to pass in anything either. If we just do this, it's not going to store anything that the user presses in. So if it's like press any key to continue, they press a space. We don't need to store that, and that's just going to be the cin.get to pause and then continue when the user presses a new key. Mixing cin and cin.get isn't a great idea because cin takes and stores input. Cin.get, if we use it like how we have on line 22, is used to just skip forward. So you don't want to use them separately. We also have cin.ignore, and this tells the cin object to skip one or more characters in our keyboard buffer. This is actually super cool. So the general form, it's going to look like the following here. cin.ignore, we're going to pass in some number. That's why I have this integer right here. So any number can be here, and then a character. This /n identifies as a character. So it's going to tell the cin to skip a number of characters, whatever number you define, or until the character in the specified second spot is seen. And this is whichever comes first. So we have, like, let's say 7 and Q for line 27. Cin is going to skip the next 7 characters or until it counters our Q, whichever comes first. And just like that for line 26, it's going to skip the next 7 characters or a new line, whichever comes first. And if no arguments are used, like our cin.get right here, but we have cin.ignore, if no arguments are used, then our cin is only going to skip the very next character. So cin.ignore like this only skips the next one. And that's pretty much it. We have cin.ignore, we have these various different ways we can use it, cin.get, various different ways we can use it, and then we have our solution to getting a whole line with cin, and then we also talked about the issue of just using the regular cin, or if you want to use it, the parameters surrounding that. In the next video, we'll talk more about string member functions and operators, so check that out in the playlist below the like button. If you have any questions, as always, comment below.